everyone, I'm Kimberly from Dirt Floor Fibers and welcome back. I'm so sorry, I looked so cute for you like 20 minutes ago, but now I am like sweating from running up and down the stairs and digging through boxes. I'm all dusty and my nose is stuffy and whatever, we'll get there. So yeah, we've got a lot of stuff coming up. So in addition to all the crochet stuff that I've been doing, it is time to get back to my first love, the knitting and the dyeing. So today is Monday, September 16th, maybe. I'll put it up here somewhere. And that means that my first fiber festival of the season is in just kicked you right there, is in 2 weeks, like less than 2 weeks at this point. I don't even want to talk about it. Time is absolutely flying by. So right now, my kitchen table has been absolutely taken over by undyed yarn. I've got over 200 skeins, and actually I just found another package of undyed yarn that I need to add to that pile when I was digging for some other stuff. So over 200 skeins of yarn that I want to dye in the next couple of weeks. And then I actually realized that some of my most popular bases I am running like disastrously low on. And so I just put in another order for like 70 more skeins of yarn, which in the grand scheme of things, when you're looking at the really big producers, is like nothing. They would laugh at that. But being that I'm kind of small batch dyeing in my kitchen right now, and I've got like no place to store all this, and it's oh my gosh, have you ever checked out the prices of undyed yarn? It's insane, people. That is why hand-dyed yarn costs so much. Not only does it take so much time, so much effort goes into it, there's actually a fair bit of waste as you're testing out different colors. Things don't come out quite right. Yeah. And then the undyed yarn is just so dang expensive. And dyes too. Dyes are also expensive. But anyway, that's me off my little rant. So hand-dyed yarn, definitely worth the price. So shout out to other hand dyers out there. So what I need to do, I've got a few things on my radar. I'm still, of course, working on all of my crochet stuff. But I want to sit down and take an inventory of exactly how many skeins I have of each of my bases right now before my next shipment comes in, because I just ordered it today and I don't know how long it's going to take to get here, so I don't want to count on that. But I need to know how many I have of each base so I can plan out what I want to dye on it, because you run into two things. I can either dye more colors with fewer skeins of each color, or I can dye fewer colors but have more skeins available. And so that's where I always run into trouble, because you want to dye all the colors, right? You want to have the full spectrum of what you have available. I've got colors that go in a beautiful fade, and I want to make sure I get all of those. But if somebody wants like a sweater's quantity, or they need like 3 skeins for a shawl, and you only have 1 or 2, they're not going to buy it because you don't have enough. But then I feel like I'm missing out if I don't have all the colors. So I kind of go back and forth. But what I really want to do is, as I do this batch, hoping that the weather is nice. It's like really super overcast tonight, and I think we have some storms rolling in tomorrow. But I'm hoping over the next couple of weeks the weather stays nice, and then I can take some really good photographs of the yarn that I dye, and I can just put it up on my website. I have been putting off putting things up online for so long that I feel like it's like now or never. I've got to just suck it up, do it, and come what may. So as I'm dyeing the next couple of weeks, I also want to take some pictures as well. But also on that list, I always want to have samples in my yarn. But that also means that I have to finish up some of my WIPS and my UFOs so I can get those things on and off the needles. So I do eventually want to show you all of my bases, and I'll probably do that later in this video. Like, not tonight though, because I'm losing the light, and you'd be like, why, yes, that is white yarn. Exciting, right? So I'll introduce you to all my bases later. But I thought I would show you now all of my WIPs that I have going on. And I have gone downstairs so many times, and I keep forgetting to grab my one finished object. Hang on a second, let me go to my finished object, and I'll be right back. All right, so you may notice that I did a little bit of a wardrobe change, and that's because it's now Thursday. It did not take me that long to go downstairs and find my last finished object. basically I came back upstairs and tried to like show it to you, and I started sneezing, and I couldn't stop sneezing, and I couldn't get through a full clip without sneezing. And so I was like, forget it, I'll come back another day, and then got distracted. But here we are on Thursday, and I'm finally ready to show you. This I've been working on since last December, and I actually finished it a little while ago, but I'm still waiting on blocking it. I just haven't gotten a chance to yet. All the ends are woven in, it just needs to be blocked and then have the ends trimmed off of it. I just haven't gotten around to it yet, but I didn't want it to linger without you guys seeing it anymore. So last year in December, I bought it before December, but in December I got the Hedgehog Fibers advent calendar because I've always liked the look of their yarn. I wasn't sure how it actually knit up, and I thought just having the surprise yarn would be fun and sampling a bunch of their colors. And I used it for, I cannot think anymore, for the Adventina shawl. And oh my gosh, guys. So here it is. And check out these colors. Now, some of them I like more than others, but I love the overall kind of scrappy look to it, because even when you have something like, you know, this lime green is like not a color I would normally gravitate toward, but when you have it next to these other colors, it provides like a little just extra pop, a little oomph. Oh, look how well you can see the pattern, like when it's against the light of the window. Like how pretty is that? It's just like a subtle little bit, and there's like garter stitch sections, and there's more of the lace sections. So anyway, the pattern turned out to be really fantastic. Love the way it came out. I just needed to buy one extra skein to get, that's not the right end. All right, sorry, I cut it there because I got on this like weird rant about colors and then couldn't figure out what side was up of my shawl, and it was a nightmare. So whatever, the point is it's like super pretty and I love it. You can wear it so many different ways. It even goes down, even though it's so big and there's so much there, you can even just wear it as a scarf. And so I think this is just gonna be really fantastic for the winter. You just kind of like bundle up into it. And it adds a little pop of color since most of my wardrobe is like black. So this will be really, really great. So I love this. And again, I just need to block it and then get those ends trimmed up and we'll be all set. That is off the needle. Check, check, all done. So let me toss that to the side and let me grab the next WIP. All right, for this next one, let me start by saying that A, I love the yarn. B, I hate this project with a fiery passion, okay? Do you guys recognize what it is? Yeah, it is the Stephen West Twist and Turns Mystery Knit-Along Shawl from 2 years ago. Oh my gosh. So this is the first mystery knit along that I did, period, let alone a Stephen West one, right? And I think it took me the entire month just to get this center section done. It took me so stinking long. It was insane. So I don't know what possessed me to then do it a second year in a row. But anyway, so I've gotten this far on it. I had just finished up the cable section down at the bottom, and then actually when I pulled this out the other day, I got inspired to actually try to finish it up. And so one night of knitting got me that much. And so I kind of want to sit down tonight and knock out the rest of that section because I'm almost done. But this is hand dyed by me. The colors, I've changed the recipe up a little bit since I've done this one, so they're not necessarily like available anymore, but these were my 3 colors, and I love this base. This is a linen and merino mix, and so I don't know if you can see it. You're probably not gonna be able to see it on here, but it's got like a little bit of a fuzzy halo where the linen like sticks out of it, but it's not like itchy or anything. So I absolutely love it. I feel like it's a little bit lighter in weight, so it's a little bit more transitional. It's not going to be super hot, even though it still has the wool content. I just feel like the linen, I don't know, it just does something to it that just makes it feel a little bit crisper, a little bit lighter. And so I love the way it drapes, the way it feels, and I don't know, it's just, I really, really like this yarn base, and I'm running really, really low on it. So I forgot to order more when I just put in my last order. So this will be kind of a scarce item until I can get another order in. But that's what I've got so far on the shawl. And I'm just dying to finish it up because I don't love it. Like, I love the way it looks. Like, I love chevrons. And like, I love the wedges over here, and I love the pops of colors, and I love the yarn that I'm using, the color that I'm using. I'm just like ready to be done with it though. So that's that one. My next WIP, hang on for it. All right, this is another one where I love the yarn, love the colors, and I hate the project with a fiery passion. Yes, you may have guessed it. It is the West Knits Knit Along shawl from last year. Oh my gosh. So I started out on a roll. So not last year's, but the year before, I started a little bit late because I was like still dyeing up the yarn and I had it dry and I couldn't decide on my pop of color. So last year I got it all done like way in advance. These were the 4 colors that I specifically dyed up for this shawl. And I absolutely love this color combination. It's like one of my little favorite fades. So that's what that looks like. I love the yarn. This is on my merino silk base. And it's like, it's got this, again, my lighting's terrible, but it's got, do you see how shiny it is? It's just got like a little extra sheen to it. It has a really nice tight twist to it. Super soft, super drapey. Love, love, love this yarn. Hate this project. Oh my gosh. So we remember the chaos that was last year with the knit along, and I had started out with the original pattern and had gotten through it really fast. I'm like, I am on track. This one's easy this year. Let's go. And then all the controversy started, and I'm like, well, now I can't use this center panel that I worked so hard on. And because you change colors all the time, I had already like tied off and knit in all the ends and stuff. And so I just had to like scrap it and throw that part in the trash. And then I did a different center, and I like the way that looks. And then I just have no idea where to go from there, because pretty much last year's knit along, it seemed like nobody actually did the shawl as it was designed. It was more just like an inspiration. The picture was like a mere suggestion, and then you picked your colors and then did whatever you wanted to do. I hate the stitches that, I don't remember what they're called, but they have like the long floats on them, and they created like a triangle. And then Stephen West had that same stitch pattern in like everything he designed after that shawl for like a year. And I hate that. I hate things with floats, especially on the front side. I'm a klutz, and I like catch things, and if it's not even, I don't like it. And so I finished the center panel, and then I have to figure out what I want to do next. A lot of people combined like crochet and knit into one piece, and I thought that would be really cool. So I'm definitely going to do that, but I have to like work out the math and stuff. And I just not feeling the math, but that's how far I've gotten so far. So that's another one that I desperately need to finish up. But again, it's just, it's so smooth and so drapey and so shiny. I love it. I love this yarn. So anyway, that is the next WIP. Next on the list, it's a hat. So I was inspired by Natalie from Nitty Natty, who has made like 100 of the muscle blower hats by Isolde Teague, I think is the name. And so I wanted to make one of my own, and I had this yarn that I had dyed up a while ago, and then I kept one skein for myself, and then I never like re-dyed this particular color because the technique I used to dye it, it still resulted in a little bit of pooling. You can see like how it like striped right there. It's not super bad, but I like dyeing my stuff in such a way that it doesn't stripe. So I wasn't happy with that stripage. So I didn't end up doing that same technique or re-dyeing that particular color of yarn, but I still like the yarn, I still like the color, and I thought it would look fine for a hat. So I did, I think, if I measured correctly, I don't even know at this point because I've been working on it for so long, and it's been living inside of one of my polyfill boxes downstairs. I like stuffed this inside, and now it's like covered with polyfill fibers and fluff. So I'm gonna have to like take my lint roller and give it a good roll at some point. But from the end of the increases, which I think is somewhere like right here, I have 6 inches of knitting, and then I'm going to do another 6 inches of, I did a 1x1 rib, which is taking forever, but I really wanted my cuff to be ribbed, at least on my first one. So I've got like another 1.5 inches maybe of this I gotta go, and then I'm gonna do another 6 inches on the other side. And so I'm absolutely dying just to get this done. It's gonna be the perfect weight hat for the fall and the winter. Again, this is that merino silk base, and so it's not super heavy, but I think in the double layer it'll be breathable and then hold in just enough head heat to keep you warm without suffocating. So I'm really excited to get that done, and I love the speckles, and I think that'll be like a really cute hat. I'm hoping it fits. I think it should. Yeah, I don't know, guys. But anyway, so that's my hat. Oh, the one thing I was gonna say about this, I don't usually use circular needles, at least not this small. I really love my double pointeds, but something with either this pattern or this yarn, I got ladders. Like, do you guys see that? I don't know if you can see that. I can see it, and that's what matters. But like in a couple of places, I got ladders where my needles came together, and that never happens. Like, I make 18th century knee-length stockings. Sorry, I got another message that my phone's dying. Knee-length 18th century stockings with double pointed needles, and I've never had a ladder. Why did I have a ladder on this hat? Where did it come from? So anyways, that's why I switched over to the double pointed needle, or the circular needles, to try to get rid of that. And so it's gonna be fine. I can hide it. I can put that on the inside when I fold it up to make the actual hat. The ladder. What happened? So anyway, that's the next WIP. 2 more. All right, I gotta go a little bit faster because my phone is dying, and I wanna get through this so I don't get distracted again. But my next one is a giant square, and like a giant square. This is the worsted boxy from Joji Locatelli. I also have like the V-neck boxy that I eventually want to do as well because I think it's so cute. But I was dying to make something in this yarn. This is this obviously worsted weight, but it's an alpaca blend, and it's so smooth. It's like soft. It's got a nice high twist to it. I absolutely just adore this yarn. I love the way that it dyes up. I love the way that it knits up. It's great for hats. I probably wouldn't do like a double layered hat out of this, but I like, you could do ones where like the brim folded up, or just like a regular like beanie, but I wouldn't do like one of these hats. I think that would just be, unless you're somewhere where it's really cold. Here in Virginia, I just don't think you're cold enough for that. But I've been working on this for ages, and I've got like maybe 1 more inch until I'm ready to divide for the front and the back. I don't know where all my yarn is. So I've got some yarn that was out for sale, but I had set enough aside to finish it. And this is one of the skeins. And then my dogs had gotten into and stolen the other skein. So I've got at least 2 more, but I don't have a lot left of the 2 skeins that I'm working on now. And I feel like I've used 1 skein already and switched out. I guess I could look and see like how many ends I have on the inside. How many ends do I have on the inside? Do I just have that 1 set? 1. Yeah, so I don't know how much I've actually used thus far, but I feel like I'm missing yarn because there has to be more than just that. Like, that's not enough to finish a sweater, I don't think. So I gotta figure out what happened to all of my yarn, and if all else fails, steal some out of my to sell stash to make sure I have enough to finish my stupid sweater. But what I'm doing with this is I'm alternating the skeins. So I'm going around in 1 color, and then at the side, they're both in the same spot. Is that, oh no, it's coming out from over here. I'm like, but they're both right here. Where's my seam? And so at that side where they switch, I just kind of wrap them around each other and then switch to the next color. And so you can't tell on the outside really where it's coming together. I mean, if you're like really looking, you can see it's a little bit thicker there, but you can't like really see it. And on the inside, it's just like a thin line. So I'm really happy with that. And that just prevents like any, not any color pooling, but you have less of a chance of something color pooling. So this is normally like my dye style. You can see where it's like all speckles of different colors throughout, and you don't have like stripes or like a giant diagonal section. So that's like really what I prefer to do. So super excited about that. One whip, kind of, sort of. Yeah, we'll call it one whip left, okay? All right, so the last whip that I have is I think it's the Washed Out shawl, again by Joji Locatelli. I'll put the name up here because every time I talk about this, I have to look up the name of the shawl because I can never remember what it is. But this is what I have so far. It is from a hand-dyed yarn, but it's not mine. This is from Fiber Optics. And Fiber Optics, sorry, hang on one second, my needle is coming off. Oh my gosh. Panic. I'll have to tighten that up later. Anyway, it's from Fiber Optics, and I don't know if it's the only yarn base they do, but the one that I see the most often from them is their merino cashmere with a little bit of nylon in it, so that's what I'm using. I absolutely love this color combination. I think I've talked about it before in another video where I kind of wish I had done like I'd done like a lighter, brighter, maybe like speckle for this end, and then like a really, really dark, saturated, solid for the middle, and then my lightest speckle for the end. And that would have created a little bit more pop to it, but it is like really growing on me, and I'm showing you the back side. Oh my gosh. I'm like, why does it not look as cute on camera as it does in real life? That's because you're looking at the back. So that's the front. So I do like the way it looks. And like even here where I'm alternating the two different colors, it almost looks like it's just a different color yarn, right? So it looks like this is one color, this is one color, and this is one color, where in reality, this is a color, and this is a color, and then they're striped together in the middle. So it does create a really nice fade. I just when I was looking at this, I really liked the idea of pinstripes. I was in like a pinstripe mood, and it's not giving me the pinstripe vibes, but it does create a really nice fade. So I do like that. The lace work, super simple. It's just kind of like eyelets, but it has a really nice kind of light effect to it. You can see it with the thank you window for your assistance. So I'm loving that. And there's just alternating sections of that lace and the garter stitch, and I think it looks fantastic. So I've got a little bit more of this yarn. I have a second skein of this because I think I'm gonna need just a smidge more than what's here. And then I have the third color left. So we're getting down to the end, but of course it's growing and it's getting larger with every row, which means that each row takes progressively longer to do. So while I don't have that many rows left, it's really like a bulk of the knitting because it just keeps getting wider and wider. But yeah, so those are my main whips. I still have a boatload of UFOs that are floating around, including one of my Advent projects from December that I haven't even touched like since the first week of December when I gave up and decided to just concentrate on the one project. But I would really like to get some of these whips finished up as quick as I can in order to concentrate on working through some other projects that I really want to do, including creating more sample pieces out of my own yarns. People can see how it knits up. I really, my slub yarn, that one is a huge priority to get knit up into a sample because everyone's always intrigued by it, but they don't understand like how it knits up. And so they're nervous to buy it without knowing like what it actually feels like. So, and I did have a sample of that, and then I sold my sample piece at a farmer's market. So mistakes were made there. But the next thing that I did, and again, we might lose the camera, so I'll try to go fast, is I did eventually make an inventory of what I had to dye up. I unfortunately have a little bit of stuff that's already been dyed and is ready to go. And you're like, how is that unfortunate? That seems like a good thing. It was stored inside of a like hefty zip bag, like one of the really big like storage bags, and it smells like plastic now. at least the last time I had pulled it out, like it had like a plastic smell to it. And I have no idea like why it did that. So I'm going to have to like either set it out to air and see if the smell goes away, or rewash everything, or give up on it, keep it for myself, and then just all dye fresh. So we'll have to see what we're gonna do with that. So, but I sat and I made like an inventory of all the bases that I need to get dyed up, and I'll go through those more specifically with you later so you can see the different ones that I have available. And then I did order some more of the bases that I was running really low on, but some of them, like my BFL sock yarn, the company that I get it from only had 20 more skeins in stock. So I cleaned them out of what they had left, but I really wanted to order like 2 or 3 times that. All right, sorry about that, I had to cough really quick. So that's coming in the mail, and in theory, the tracking has it coming here on Saturday, but the problem is my post office loves checking it in at like 11:45, and then you get the email that your package is ready, but they close at noon. So you gotta be like sitting there, like waiting to dive in and get your package. Otherwise you can't get it until Monday. But quite frankly, I have enough stuff that I could keep myself busy until Monday when I can actually pick up the package. But so the reason why I've got the inventory is because I keep putting off actually diving in and dyeing stuff. I have not had a good dye session in ages, so I'm feeling like a little bit anxious about jumping back, and I know how to do it. Like, it's like riding a bike. Once you like learn how to do it, like you should be able to jump right back in. But I'm like feeling the anxiety just because like I haven't done it in so long that like I don't know what my flow, my process is anymore. But having that is gonna help me with this is my dye notebook that has all my recipes inside of it. I also need to digitize them because I did lose my last recipe book when something spilled on it and then I couldn't read my notes anymore. So I do want to go through and kind of make a plan of what colors I'm going to do for each base. So if I have, 40 skeins in a color or 40 skeins of a type of base, I can decide, do I want to do 10 each of 4 colors? Do I want to do 5 each of 8 colors? And I can just use this to help me plan out, and that way I know exactly what I'm going to do. Because it's also really helpful if, let's say I'm going to do the same color across 3 different bases, or I need X number of batches of that particular color, I can sit and do all of that color at one time, and then I can share the utensils. My hands are only one color, because it's really hard when you've got like a dark blue that's on your fingertips and under your nails, and you're trying to work with like a really pale lavender. So that just really helps streamline the process as well. So I'm gonna go charge my phone, and then I'll give you an update as soon as we actually jump in and start dyeing stuff. Hey guys, it is now Sunday evening. Excuse the poor lighting and the messy background, but we are in my kitchen because I am dyeing, literally, right? So I just wanted to show you kind of like the progress of one of my newer colorways. So this is one that I've only brought to one event before, and it completely sold out, and I love the color. But for whatever reason, I didn't write down in my notebook what I called the color. Like, I usually either write it down in the notebook or I take a picture of the tag once I write it down. No idea. I think that I called it peacock, but I'm not 100% sure. We'll have to see what it looks like again, and then see if that's an appropriate name. But let me turn you around so you can see what it looks like. All right, so this is the beginning stages. Well, the first stage was the yarn, which is my worsted / Aran weight merino baby alpaca blend. I love this stuff. It's what I'm making my sweater out of right now. I soaked that in some acidic water. I happen to use some white vinegar this time. Sometimes I use citric acid, but it's all the same. And then it got put in one of these warming pans, I guess you'd call it, with just enough vinegar water to kind of keep the yarn nice and moist and so it wouldn't dry out. Heated it up, and then I put on my colors, which I always love. Sometimes in my skeins of yarn, if I've speckled a color or I've done stripes kind of like this, you'll find colors that like I didn't actually use, and that's because these colors tend to break. So like I love this color down at the end. It's olive, but look at It's kind of hard to tell because I put the green next to it now, but all those little speckles that you see like in the corner, like down over here, sorry, my nails are covered in dye powder. You can see like there's greens, there's little bits of blue. And so that kind of came out of that olive color. And you can even see like the navy here, speckled in some green and brighter blues. There is some yellows inside of this blue. So I just absolutely love kind of those extra colors that you get in there. But anywho, that was step number 1. So we are going to let this heat and then we will come back. So what do you guys think this is gonna look like? So here's what we look like after we did our bit of smushing. You can see that there's still a little bit of dye. So I don't want to pick everything up and turn it over quite yet because I don't want everything to get muddled together. I do want the colors to start mixing and blending, but like I don't want it to get too muddy. You can still see that we've got some lighter colors in here. You can see where the olive is breaking and running into the blues and this kind of turquoise color. So the yarn's a little bit more yellow or golden. So anyways, tons of fun. But I don't want to completely pick it up and turn it quite yet. So I'm going to give it a chance to set for a little bit longer and then we'll turn it over. That's a pretty color. Now she's starting to come together. So it's been turned, respeckled, and smushed. And kind of the point of this second coat, partially to kind of start melding the different colors together, but then also to make sure that there aren't any white spaces that aren't dyed. So in something like this, you're still going to get areas where you can see where there's light, there's dark, and we want that variation, but we don't want any undyed yarn sneaking through. So I've given it a good smush. Try to keep the colors still in kind of their striped section while still having them kind of meld and blend together. And what I'll do is I'll let this then set for a while until all the color has been exhausted. And then I'm going to turn it again, make sure that there's no light areas that I don't like, no place where I want to add some more dye to. If I want to add some more dye, I can do it then, and then I will reset it and we'll be all finished. So this is what she looks like after sitting and cooling all night. Is this what you were expecting when you saw that first video of color on yarn? So what I'm going to do now is take it over to the sink, give her a good rinse to get all that vinegar out. It'll do a cycle through my spin dryer and then hang up to dry. I can't wait for you guys to see the finished product. All right, it's now Tuesday, September 20-something, 24th, I don't know, give or take a day. And it's like just after 6 o'clock. And let me tell you, we are riding the struggle bus real hard right now. So yesterday's goal was to finish up all of my worsted weight yarn, having that dyed. And so I did finish that up. I finished my worsted weight. And then my goal was to get my slub finished. And I had like 2.5 rounds of dyeing left. And I was like, I'm gonna pull it all-nighter, but I'm gonna take a nap while my yarn is cooling on the stove. Now, I never take a nap while there is yarn simmering on the stove. That is just a recipe for disaster, so I never do it. But I was like, while it's cooling, surely I can take a nap. Well, I overslept my timer and then woke up this morning and was like, forget it. So I'm like throwing stuff all over the place. It's okay. So I ended up this morning going and getting a coffee and feeding the sheep, and I had an appointment and I ran some errands that were totally not essential and got home at like 4 o'clock. And I'm like, I've got the rest of the night to work. But there's something nagging in the back of my mind. I was like, I feel like I have to work tonight, but I took a vacation day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, so I'd have plenty of time for dyeing. And there was something in the back of my head where I said I was going to sacrifice a few hours of my vacation Tuesday night to take care of something at work, but I couldn't put my finger on what it was. And then I remember what it was. And so I do have to go into work tonight, and I've got I said it was like just after 6. I've got to be out of here by 7, absolutely at the latest, but I want to get out of here ASAP. But I've got yarn simmering down on the stove. that needs another 20 minutes, I think, probably at this point. So as soon as that's finished, I'm gonna turn it off and then jump in the car. But I want to jump on with some progress. So I told you that I finished up all of my worsted. I actually have my ring light going right now. You can see it's getting dark outside, so I hope the lighting is in here pretty nice. I rarely use this because the cord is really short, and so to get like an angle is really hard to like plug it in somewhere. And it doesn't come, it has like a USB on the end. And so I always have to like run around and find like my iPhone charger to find the plug that has a USB on it so I can plug it into the wall. Anyways, like I said, struggle bus, but we've got light, we've got yarn, and we've got some goals. So I'm going to show you first the colors of the worsted weight that I'm bringing to my fiber festivals this year. More colors could possibly be added if I order some more yarn, but I'm kind of out of undyed yarn for this base right now. So this is what we got until I order some more. So this is my By the Hearth worsted, okay? It is 80% superwash merino and 20% baby alpaca. It's a 2-ply worsted / Aran weight. It's kind of a heavy worsted. I absolutely adore this. It is 191 yards to 100 grams. Now I apologize if you get one of these with the current label. I accidentally, I don't know if you can see that, did not edit correctly when I made this label, and it says 50 grams, but they're actually 100 grams. So 191 yards to 100 grams. And yes, I do match, or do match, whatever, metric and imperial. So I'm so sorry, but when knitting and crocheting, this is like how my brain works. I always think in yards, but when dyeing, I do everything in grams because the math is easier. So I don't know, whatever, it is what it is. But this is dried lavender. This is the color that I'm making my sweater out of right now. So I have some leftover skeins of that. That will be coming with me. Then I have this, which is my favorite hat. This was the result of a dye experiment. It's coming off darker on camera. There's actually a lot more pink than the kind of dark black and blue color. I had been playing around with colors and I did a skein, maybe 2 skeins, and because I was just experimenting, I didn't properly write down what I did. And so I ended up using the skein to make myself a hat, which turned out to be like my favorite hat I've ever made. If you go on my Instagram and scroll down a little bit, there's 2 posts kind of close to each other. One is me in a car dealership wearing the hat, and then one, I think it's like a mid-hat progress picture, and it has how I made the hat, like all the instructions. So if you want to see what my favorite hat looks like, but then I really liked that color and wanted to make more. So I had to play around, and this is not exactly the same color. It's much darker than my original, but I still really like this one, so I left it this way. It's a little bit more in line with my color palette than the lighter pink. So happy with this, but this is called My Favorite Hat. Then I also have this one, which is called It's Cold Outside. So this one has a base of different color blues with some black and navy speckles, as well as some sections of kind of this tannish brownish color. Because the way I create the tan / brown, the skeins are inconsistent. So you do, I mean, all hand-dyed yarn, especially in this style, are gonna be inconsistent. They're gonna be more related than matchy-matchy, especially if they come out speckled the way that I like them to, so they don't stripe as much. So you just want to make sure if you're going to get something like this for a larger project that you want to alternate skeins. And I'll talk about that more when I show you my finished sweater. Hold on in the back of your mind. Because there's going to be slightly different proportions of the different colors. So some of these have a little bit more brown than other ones. So just kind of take a look if you have more of a preference. But a single skein of this will make you a nice hat. It'll make you a pair of mitts. I think a single one will get you like a small cowl. It's been a long time since I've made one of those though, but definitely a hat or definitely a pair of mitts. But so It's Cold Outside for that one. And then I have this one, which is all blues and greens. And again, the way I do the colors, you end up with some sections of a little bit of gold in there as well. Also super pretty. So long story, I had created 4 new colorways back in the spring for a market that I did, And unfortunately, all of my skeins in those 4 new colors sold out. And so I didn't write down the color names. Like, I know for a fact I named them and put it on the label, but I didn't write it in my dye notebook. So I have no idea what these colors were called. So you might see a color that looks familiar and you're like, hey, I bought that at Center of the Yarniverse, but it wasn't called that. It's because I couldn't remember what I called it. So we're gonna call this one Swamp. And I adore that one, just kind of greens and blues. And it goes along with this other one that I'm calling Peacock, which also adds in some more of kind of the goldy browns and this bright pop of blue. So that one's Peacock. I love all those colors. This one's gonna be a little bit more stripy. If I undo it, you can see how there are kind of color block sections, but I try to make them like small enough that, like, I mean, you're only gonna get, some of these are like 3 stitches maybe in one color, maybe 3 to 6, depending on the longer strands. And so they are gonna change color fairly quickly as you're knitting. And they're not like solid. So like you have some of the solid blue here, but then it's interrupted by some blue speckle. And so hopefully as you're knitting, you might get a little bit of pooling and striping, but it's not going to be identical and it's not going to be through the entire skein. So you can kind of see how that works a little bit. So I always encourage you, if you're looking at a skein of yarn and you're like, ooh, I love that color, I wonder how it's going to knit up. Ask the person who made it, like the person at the booth or whatever, if you can see a skein of it untwisted, because then you can get a much better idea of what the yarn's going to do. So again, you can see kind of the stripes in this one. But if we look at something like, it's cold outside. Let me see how this one dyed up. Yeah, you can see, well, there's a little bit of stripage in this one, but it is a little bit more random. So it's gonna look totally different, right? Let me see, what else I got here? Here's my favorite hat. So you can see it's not striped. You're just gonna get kind of like random bits of color here and there. So you can see how the different ones are made up, and it's actually kind of fun then to kind of try to figure out like how the person dyed it, what kind of technique they used. So that's what I like doing when I go yarn shopping, and yes, I am super annoying. Anyway, and then my last color is this one, which is going to be called Frozen, and it's like a light blue, almost a little periwinkle-y-ish, with some brighter pops of kind of this tropical aqua turquoise sort of color, with some darker kind of purpley burgundy sorts of colors. And so that's what that looks like. This one was a mistake. So like I said, I had those new color recipes that were unnamed, and I had whipped up the color for this one. It was mystery number 4. And when I poured the color into the dye pot, I was like, that's not the color it's supposed to be. Clearly, when I wrote down the proportion of this one color, I miswrote it, because I clearly remember putting like just the smidge of this color in, but I feel like I'm putting a lot of this color in, and it's too much. It's not going to turn out the right color. So I dumped it out, scrapped it, remixed the color the way I thought it was supposed to be from memory, dumped it in the pan. I'm like, oh, that looks much better. Stuck the yarn in, and I'm like, it's still not the right color. Like, it's just not the right color. Because the color that I thought it was mystery number 3. Mystery number 4 was a totally different color. So this is none of the above. So this is kind of a mystery 4.5 that's gonna be named Frozen, because I actually like the way that it came out. And then I ran out of this, so I couldn't like re-dye it. But my slub has both this color, and right now sitting on the stove is mystery color, actually number 4. So I'm thinking those will be a really pretty pairing of the 2 of them together. But you won't have that option in worsted unless you order it online, which I'm hoping at some point to be able to actually put these colors up online. But if you see anything in like a video and you're like, gotta have that color, send me an email, hello@dirtfloorfibers.com, and I'm happy to set up like a little invoice for you and dye it up special. During the season like this, it might be like 3 weeks before I actually ship it out to you because I'm running low on my undyed bases, so I'd have to order more so that I could dye it up special for you. Unless I have enough in stock, and then I can just send it right out to you. But that is that color, and I'm thinking these two would be really pretty together, the dried lavender with the frozen. Like, how pretty would that be as something? I don't know. But I love those two together. Same thing with the swamp and the peacock. Here, open that so you can see that one too. They're drying, so they have to be hung back up anyway. So like those two together would be really pretty because they're related. They've got the same greens in there, but then with the little extra blue and brown in this one, like that would be a really pretty subtle fade or combination. So, all right, so that's what I've got done so far. I'm gonna go downstairs, see how much time we have left, probably looking at how long I've been chatting with you, maybe like 8 minutes or so left on the timer, and I'll get ready for work and head out. All right, so I'm at work with like 10 minutes to spare before I'm needed to actually go in. So I want to show you my hat real fast. Oh no! There you go. Okay, I want to show you my hat real fast. So that's what I've got done so far. I finished the ribbing, so it's the cap, 6 inches straight, 6 inches of ribbing, and now I'm starting on the next 6 inches. So I've gotten, oh, I almost pulled all the stitches off. So I've gotten like a finger's width done so far in the plain stockinette. So that's probably at least 1/2 inch, I would say, right there. So I've got to do 6 inches of that, and then the crown. The best part of this hat though, I suppose you could really do this with any hat, but because it's so nice and deep, I store my yarn inside. And then you can actually like knit with it with the yarn inside. So anywho, tips and tricks right here. So let's get going. It's kind of my goal to finish the 6 inches tonight before I go to bed. I have no idea how many hours of knitting that is. That might be like a 1.5 days of knitting, so I'm never going to bed again. All right, so now I've got 9 minutes to get into work, and so I'm gonna go, and I'll see you guys later. All right, work is all done. Check, check. Pretty sure there was something in the parlor that wasn't supposed to be in there. That house is creepy, but we got through it, and we're okay. It's like 10:15 right now, if I didn't already say that. So now I've got like almost an hour drive home, but on the plus side, my yarn's gonna be all cool by the time I get there, so I can immediately rinse and spin dry and start on the next cycle. And look how much I got done on my hat, guys. So there's the top of my ribbing, and then remember I had like a finger space, so I've more than doubled. So productive night, we're getting there. All right, see you guys at home. All right, so we paused in the prep for Fiber Festival for a little bit. I have yarn cooling on the stove, and then I'm just waiting for that to cool, and then I'll go and rinse and hang up and all that good stuff. But I started crocheting with some of that really skinny chenille yarn that I got a little while ago because I wanted to do some keychains, and I basically was like experimenting. I wasn't ready to like dive into the keychains, but I was tired of the knitting for a moment, and I liked the 3.5 hook with it, but my only 3.5 hook was like the Susan Bates with like the really skinny metal handle, and I felt like I was like, you know, really clenched in there. And so I went to Joann's to get a different 3.5 needle, but the only 3.5 hooks, the only 3.5 hook they had were again the Susan Bates with like a skinny handle. So I ended up having to get like a full set of these guys, and something in the back of my mind tells me that I got a set of these at home, but I also think maybe I got the big set, not the little set, because I feel like I've used it for like super chunky yarn. So I don't know, but I had a 40% off coupon, so it was like $20 for all of these, and it comes with a 3.5, a 4, a 4.5, a 5, and a 6. They're not my favorite, but it's so much better than that stupid teeny tiny little metal hook. So we have those. And also there was a tragedy with my project that I was working on. I will tell you all about it when we get back. But when you guys see my nails in the videos like this and they look like this, don't think that like I don't wash my hands or something. It's because I don't like wearing gloves when I dye yarn, and I'm very hands-in. And so all of my nails end up stained colors until it wears off. So, all right, lunch, home, yarn, more crochet. All right, let's try this again, guys. It was so dark in here a minute ago. I was looking at my colors of yarn and I couldn't even decipher like which one was which. And I'm like, I need a little extra light. So we'll see if the ring light helps any, which looking at my phone, it's not. Maybe that? I don't know. We'll see what happens. So it is now Thursday morning. I've just now hit the point where I should have hit like Tuesday morning. So now we are really under the wire. I did some calculating, and with what I have finished and hanging up to dry right now, I have just over $2,000 worth of inventory dyed up, which if I were doing like a farmer's market or a plushie market, like that would be fantastic. But for a big fiber festival, that's like a quarter of what I wanted and half of what I really need. So today we are doing what we can to get as much dyed as humanly possible. I think today there's a lot of solid colors on the docket, which helps out because when I'm doing like a lot of speckled colors or things that have to be rotated and turned around, I have to put it in my base color and then I set it and then I put on the color and then I set it and then I turn it and put on more color and then I set it for like the full length of time. And then you have to let it cool down. But if I'm doing a solid color, basically the color goes in, the yarn goes in, it just sets the one time and then it cools down and I'm finished. So it's a little bit of a shorter process. But we'll see what happens. So I've got everything like laid out drying right now. All the fans are on. So things are looking good there. If I get desperate, I can implement my cold, damp weather drying technique, which is busting out the space heater in an enclosed space with the fan on. I prefer not to do that because it's still a little steamy. We're getting toward fall. It's getting a little bit cooler. It's like in the upper 70s right now, and I think over the weekend we're gonna dip into like the mid to low 70s maybe. I haven't checked the weather in a while, but fingers crossed that that's what the game plan is, because that'll be perfect yarn weather. But like I said, still a little too hot to bust out the space heater, but we'll do it if we need to. But I wanted to show you, because I've got all of my slub yarn finished, so that's 2 bases completely dyed up, and I wanted to show you what I had for that. So you guys have already seen this color on the other base. It's just not, it's so cloudy outside. It's like, come on, sunshine, I need you. But this is Frozen, which has kind of a light blue base with some brighter pops of like this aqua, some darker burgundies. And so that's the one that I messed up the color and thought I knew better than my dye notebook. So that's the one that became Frozen. And then how it was supposed to look like is this, which it's kind of the same color scheme, but the background color, the background blue is a little bit darker. And then to switch it up just a little bit more, I also changed up kind of the speckling technique. And so they're related colorways, but they're not identical, which I wish you can tell in person, but this would be perfect to pair together, okay? As a nice little fade. Again, it looks pretty similar on the camera, but you can tell that one is darker than the other. Then my next color is Life is Beautiful. Again, I wish the lighting would do it justice, but it's kind of a navy-ish, purplish background color with the speckles on top. We also have, this is a reboot of an old color. I swear when I did it last time, it wasn't quite so dark. I thought it was a lot lighter, but I'm wondering if I'm misremembering another color. So this one you've got kind of like a salmon peach with some yellows and golds and some kind of pink burgundy sorts of specks. And I was looking at this hanging up next to each other. How fantastic would that look together striped in a project? So I think I'm gonna have to do something for myself. Oh, you can see it there in these 2 colors. And then my last color in that base. Oh, I was looking over at one I had already laid down and I'm like, there's like a big section of like a not a weird color, but like not the right color. And I realized it was sitting on top of another skein of yarn and it was showing through. So that was hilarious. This is actually on my stove right now. This is Crumble on the merino silk base. And then my last color, it's so funny that I'm so predictable in my color naming. If you remember, I said I had like 4 different colors that I had come up with new recipes for, but I couldn't remember what I called them. I remembered what I called this one. So this is Beneath the Ice, because as I was looking at it, I'm like, wow, that looks like ice. And then you look through it, you can see like the different colors underneath. I'm like, Beneath the Ice. That's totally what the colorway was called before. So I am super predictable, but it's like this gorgeous like minty green color with speckles of kind of like this brown color and some pops of blue, some lighter areas of mint. So anyways, love that one as well. And this one would also pair sorry, I got it all tangled. Fantastically, I think, with these guys. Like, how pretty would that be for something springy? Like, I love that. Or you could go kind of the darker route with the Frozen and the Let It Go. So, love the way they look together. Oh my gosh. Okay, so slub yarn is all finished. I'm gonna try to put together, okay, let me tell you this first. So much stuff that needs to get done today. Like I said, feeling a little panicky. I do have to go into work tonight, and I have to go get the sheep more hay. And so I'm gonna have to combine the sheep and the hay and the work all together. So I'm thinking if I leave here by 2 o'clock, that'll give me enough time to go and get the hay, maybe go throw some hay to the sheep, or I might have to go to work first and then go to the sheep. We'll see how that works. But I think if I leave here by 2, that'll give me enough time to get everything outside of the house finished. I have no idea what time it is now, but it's probably shockingly close to 2. I also have to keep dyeing as many rounds as I can. I want to get at least 2 rounds done before I leave the house. It would be really nice if I could get a 3rd one, like finished but cooling down, but I'm not sure if that'll be possible. We'll see how that goes. Then I also have to do a mock setup. I just got a bunch of new stuff from Amazon. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But I want to make sure all of my pieces go together the way I think they're going to go together. And I want to see how much yarn I have so I can figure out what my setup is going to look like. I also need to make my signs. My printer is acting up. I got one of those printers that has the cartridgeless. So it's just the ink that like squeezes into the reservoir. And I hadn't used it in a few months, and then I went to print something not that long ago, and like it looked like the ink was dried out. So I don't know if just like the pads that like print something have gotten dry, and I have to do like a few test prints to get like the ink flowing through it again, or I don't know. I've got to play with that. But I want to get some signs finished so that if I can't get my printer working, I can send them to Staples and then pick them up tomorrow morning. What else is on the list? I also really want to get some more stuff crocheted. So while most of my stuff is like focused on like the hand-dyed yarn at markets, I thought to help fill in some space, like how cute would it be to have like a little army of dinosaurs and then maybe like some like smaller keychainy sort of things. Because not everyone who crochets, knits beautiful sweaters and shawls and things like that can crochet amigurumi. They probably could. The skills I think are transferable, but not everybody wants to pick up a new skill, right? And so I think that these would be really cute. And a lot of times you do get people who go there who are not crafters themselves, who are fantastic and they want to sit and chat to you and everything. So sit and chat to you and everything. Yes. Sorry, like the brain is all over the place. Yeah. And so I wanted to have a few finished products that as they're walking around, they're like, yeah, the yarn is pretty. I don't make stuff. They could be like, oh, that's handmade. I want one of those. Because every year I do get people who ask if like samples that I have out, if those are for sale. It makes me wish I had blocked my hedgehog fibers scarf because I could have put that out for sale. It would have had to have been like super expensive, but it's at least like attention getting. And then if somebody wanted to buy it, they can have it. It's gorgeous and I love it and I love the colors, but we could use the extra cash right now. So we'll see what happens. On top of that, I also need to start, no, we're not gonna get to that yet. Then I also need to paint safety eyes. So those need time to dry. I would like to bring also safety eyes for sale, which I haven't done that before. I just got a new shipment of eyes in, and I have to double check how they're advertised, because some of the packs I bought were like 100 pieces, but sometimes safety eyes, the 100 pieces are like 50 individual eyes and 50 individual backs. Sometimes they're like 100 eye backing pairs, and then sometimes it's 100 sets of eyes with the matching backs. And so that's just going to help me determine how much I should charge for the eyes, because especially like the really big ones, they're ridiculously expensive, even when you're buying them in bulk. And so I just want to make sure I'm charging the right price to make my money that I spent on the eyes, the paints, and the packaging back with a little extra for my time and effort, because they are not easy. There's a lot of hand cramping when you're trying to work in small spaces. So I have to get the pricing for that. I also need to do some laundry because I have no clothes to wear this weekend. I don't even know, my dye shirts are like dirty. And so I need to get those washed so I can continue dyeing in clean clothes. Yeah. And then I need to make sure I have my go kit all ready to go, and snacks and drinks for the weekend. Because this one's kind of hard to get away. It's a smaller show, so the food trucks aren't too far away, but there's not a lot of food trucks, which means that the good ones have lines that are really long. So we'll have to wait and see. And I'm also waiting to see what the weather is doing with that hurricane coming through. I think it's supposed to be a little bit rainy, but I don't know how bad it's going to be. I am so tired of all these Fiber Festival weekends being on hurricane weekends. Like, Mother Nature, could you just? I'm just saying. All right, so that is it for now. I'm gonna go downstairs, check on the yarn that's on the stove, see if it's ready for its next step. And then maybe come up and paint some safety eyes. I think that's probably the next best step. Let's do that. So those are my Amazon packages. I got a bunch of new stuff for my setup, which is why I really wanted to do a mock setup so I could try out the new stuff. And there's actually like 2 more boxes upstairs that I had gotten a while ago and then just hadn't gotten the chance to unpack. But I really got to do that at least in the morning. I haven't even cleaned out my car yet. I did give the sheep a double portion of water today, so I don't have to carry water to them tomorrow. So I could probably get all my stuff, all my infrastructure in my car, because I don't need a tent or anything, along with their hay, feed them hay in the morning, and then go straight there after I finish up with work, which I do need to go in for at least a few hours tomorrow morning to get caught up on some stuff. I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. Like I said, the list is too long. But I definitely need to get that unpacked so I can get that then packed in the car in the morning. I'm gonna turn you back around again. All right, guys. So the panic and overwhelm is like seriously starting to set in right now, and I have no idea what to do. And so a huge part of me just wants to say forget it and go to bed. And I am very close to just plain doing that. So basically, I got home from work at, I don't know what, like 11:20 something. And then I put on the dye shirt, pulled back the hair, changed out the contacts for glasses just to get comfy. And it was like 11:50. And then I've been trying to film this. I've done like, I don't even know how many versions, but I am totally incoherent at this point. So we're going to try it one more time. And this is just going to be as good as it's going to get. So, like I said, it's probably about midnight right now, and I got so many things that I was supposed to do that just are not going to get done. So I'm just gonna have to decide what's the most important. I do have 2 containers of yarn on the stove right now that are all cool and ready to be rinsed. So those are gonna get rinsed and spin dried. I don't know what the right tense is for that. Spin dried? I don't like that. But anyway, and then we're gonna hang it up. So at least that can be on the go. And then I have another pot of yarn soaking, so it's ready to be dyed. And I really wanted to get like 3 or 4 more rounds done tonight, but it's midnight. And so like seriously, even if I stay up all night, I'm only going to get like, if I'm lucky, 3, but probably realistically, I'd really only get 2 by the time you give cool down time and stuff. And so I just don't know if it's worth it to stay up all night for 2 more rounds of yarn. And the answer is probably. I probably should, but I don't know, I'm just like super tired at this point, and I think tomorrow is also going to be an all-nighter, so I don't want to be so tired that it's dangerous to drive, if that makes sense. I'm getting old, guys. It's so hard to stay up all night now. I'm really worried, guys. We'll make it work. All right, I'll check in tomorrow when I've had some rest and I'm a little more coherent. Okay, good night.